Welcome to Grow My Etsy Shop podcast, the drips of knowledge you need to start growing. Hey, welcome. So this week I did a call for the growth program, and somebody asked the question. She said, no, she didn't. Jared, tell me why. She just said, I have a question. What do you look at when you look at data? What's important to you? What's not important to you? She said, I look at it and I don't know. She actually used this great word. It was amalgamation. And I've used it like 12 times since then because it made me sound, when she said it, I was like, wow, she is intelligent. And I was like, now I'm going to use this word, amalgamation, which essentially just means taking a bunch of separate units and making them into one unit, which turns out you can use this a lot in your life, especially when you are, it's like the goal of life, isn't it? To just amalgamate everything. I don't know if amalgamate's the right word, but just like, let's unify, baby. Anyway. There's your word of the day. So if that's what you came in for, go ahead and sign out. You're good to go. But she's like, Jared, is there like a thing that you look at that just has all the information that you need all piled up into one thing? And the answer to that, it was no, I don't. I look at different things. And at this point, I've done it for so long that it kind of seems second nature to me. But I thought it's worth slowing it down a bit and talking about it with you guys so that you can kind of see what's important data on your Etsy website or your Etsy shop and what's not. So let's talk. So Etsy's dashboard can be an intimidating place when we're trying to extract data because there's just data and they're just like, blah, here it is. Look around, make decisions, try to grow your Etsy shop from these decisions. And so today I want to break it down on some of the most important key things that you should be looking at and indicators or maybe red flags or green flags of when to scale, what's to change, what not. So number one, the first thing I do when I'm looking at an Etsy shop is, if you want to know, the very first thing I actually do is I look at the longevity of the store. Like, when did you start? How have you grown? And so I'm seeing, is there a pattern in your growth? And I'm also looking at month pattern as well. So when I'm looking at a course of a year, I can see like, okay, you dip in the summer, you're a Q4 store or whatever it may be. So I can kind of get a gist of where someone's supposed to be monthly. Now, the big mistake that people make a lot is that they think, well, last year in March, I made $5,000 and this year in March, I made $4,000. Therefore, I'm down $1,000. And it's like, correct. How was February? How was January? And if January and February were also down and then March is down, you are projected downwards. But people don't just buy like, well, it's March, I better buy from that person's shop. You might see higher numbers, you know what I mean? Like, so I do see this a lot. This is something that we don't necessarily have to sweat over. I think that most people panic because they're looking at the line. If you're watching me on YouTube, you'll see my hand is up. They're looking at this line and they don't see what's beyond the line. And so if the line is going down a bit, they just assume that line is going to tank to the bottom. And it's not always the case. And so it can be a little bit emotional when we're making decisions just at that time. I always am looking at at least a 3-month snapshot before I make any decisions of whether or not I am fearful that I might be slipping a little bit. So please don't rush and make decisions on your store just because not as many people bought from you in March as they did the March previously. They might buy from you from April. Maybe your February was a bit higher. Worth looking at. So I tend to look at that because what I'm trying to do is get a clean picture of where I see their store at. And if I do see a decline of what's taking place, then the next natural question I'm going to ask is like, what was working before? So what was going on before and what were you doing before are usually my two big questions. So they might say something like, oh, I had this one thing that was selling really well. It was doing awesome and yada, yada, yada. Or they say, oh my gosh, yeah, last March I was dropping a bunch of new stuff into the store at that time or whatever. And so sometimes I can just hear like, oh, you got caught in that fulfillment stage, which means what no one really wants to do is just like build a bunch of stuff and put it on Etsy that doesn't sell. What they want to do is fulfill orders from the things that people are buying from them. So once someone hits a spot in their shop that they're seeing enough consistency in sales that they're like, oh my gosh, I actually don't need to create a bunch of stuff on Etsy. I can just sell the stuff I've already created and optimize it and all that jazz. Then they tend to sit there for a while. And what happens is, as you start to go, there's people who are chipping at you, or a trend maybe starting to come to an end, or yeah, maybe someone else has kind of copied or done something along the lines of this, or buyer shift, whatever. And so you start to see a dip, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to get back to where I was before, which was that I was doing nothing and just fulfilling orders. And we ignore the fact that there was a lot of work that took us to get to that spot, and then we rode a wave of that spot. And so that's another common one that I see, which is like, Jared, help me go back to the spot where I don't do anything to my Etsy shop and it makes me a lot of money. And I'm like, look, you get what I'm saying. So now let's actually talk about, though, if you're looking at your shop and you want to have your dashboard open for this, and you say, I want to see and understand what I should be looking at and what I shouldn't be looking at. One of the first places I'm going to go if I'm auditing a shop is I'm going to go right down to that section where it tells you where the traffic is coming from. So that's from your dashboard. Just scroll down. You're going to see the 6. It's like Etsy, SEO, Etsy app and other Etsy pages, Etsy, it's like the desktop version of it, Etsy ads, social media are kind of the ones that they're selecting from. And you'll see a percentage of what is being sent to you. Want to know some numbers? 70% should be from Etsy. That's when, and I'm not saying that's not a sign of a healthy Etsy shop. It's just that we want Etsy, if we're going to be on Etsy, putting our effort into Etsy, we want to see about 70% of our traffic coming from Etsy. So if we're seeing a portion, like for example, direct, that's a big sign that Etsy's relying on you to bring traffic, and you shouldn't be bringing traffic to them. Number 2 would be the offsite ads, so the SEO section of that dashboard. If it's showing a lot, that means people are actually searching on Google, and then from Google, Etsy's winning them, paying for the click, or they're organically showing up, Etsy organically showing up, and people click on that and then are brought into your store. And that's usually a big indicator that people aren't going on Etsy and looking for your product. They're going on Google and looking for your product. And so you can actually intercept that traffic that way. So 70% needs to be coming from Etsy. And for most of us, that's going to be okay. I mean, for me, I'm good under the Etsy app and other Etsy pages. I want to see a majority of my traffic coming from there, because that means that organically you're getting a lot of Etsy traffic. Because again, if you have Etsy ads in there, that's bringing you 40% of your traffic. That just means you're paying for traffic on Etsy, which is not a bad thing unless you aren't getting any organic. Then you're just on Etsy paying the fees of Etsy and not being able to get any of the organic traffic that Etsy can provide. That is usually an indicator when I see something like that to say, ooh, we need to work on your organic growth. And so I would then move into my next stop here. Most of the time, 90% of the time, I'm going to click on Etsy app and other Etsy pages. That's going to open up a new dashboard for me that I can scroll down and I can see the top keywords that people are clicking on to come into your shop. Now that's the key phrase here. It is the top keywords that people are clicking on, not what Etsy's showing you under, just what people click on, okay? And then it shows you your top products by views. I'm going to move this into, it's for right now, the date of me making this podcast, it's June. So I feel comfortable looking at a 6-month worth of data. So I'm going to do year to date. Boom, I've got 6 months worth of data. I can now see what are your top sellers and what are your top clicked keywords. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to confirm with the person on the call. Are the top 5 most viewed products the top 5 most bought products? You'd be surprised how often this doesn't line up. And the reason it doesn't line up is that Etsy's promoting something, or people are clicking on something that they aren't buying, which is going to affect your store. And so you just want to do an audit. Are the things that I see as those top viewed listings of my entire store the top things that are being purchased? And if not, it's time to do some work in some listings, because we got to convert that traffic. And so a lot of the times I can get in there and see like, oh, your store's getting a majority of its traffic sent to these listings, but you're converting the listings underneath those. Let's just say your top 3 are not your best sellers, but number 4 is your best seller. Sometimes that could be because it's a growing star, a rising star, we'll call it, meaning that it's gaining popularity. But this happens more than you think. It's just that those top 3 are getting clicks without purchases. And sometimes that could be because you're running ads or whatever it may be to those things, and they're just not working very well. So I'm going to start working on those listings. And figure out how we can convert that, because that's where our traffic's coming from. So let's convert it, baby. The next thing I'm going to do after I confirm that, and let's just say someone says, yo, yeah, those top 3 or those top 5 are my best top 5 sellers. Perfect. I'm then going to confirm if the traffic sources I'm getting are connected to those 5 listings that I see above, or 7 listings, or whatever. If you're a big store, we're going to look at more listings. If you're a smaller store, we're going to look at less listings. This means if I look at your number 1 seller, and let's just say it's a tote bag that's has states for it. Okay, so it's like pick your state tote bag, and I go down to your keywords. In my mind, I'm going to select the keywords that I think you should be found under before I look at those keywords, which are directly under those 5. So if you just scroll down that page, you're going to see your best sellers under views, or your most viewed. And then if you scroll down, you're going to see the most trafficked keywords. I guess that's what we'll call it. Keywords that brought in the most traffic. What I'm doing is I look at, okay, that's a state tote bag. Perfect. I want to see the number 1 keyword match something like that. So what I don't want to see is when I scroll down, have it say California tote bag, for example, because that product is offering states and you're being found under California. This means that there's a slight disconnect between the buyer of what they're searching and what your product is offering. What we would want in a perfect world is if your number 1 keyword was California tote bag, that the product that Etsy was pushing the most was a California tote bag, right? Another big exercise that I want you to do, and I've talked about this before, is that you want to look at, is my store inspirational or detailed? Because if it's more inspirational, which means people are searching for tote bags, travel bags, airport travel bags, or something like that, those are inspirational keywords, which means Etsy's promoting you, saying, hey, you are looking for a travel tote bag. This might be something you're interested in. And people look at it and they go, oh, that is cute. And they click and they shop around that way. That's called an inspirational keyword, which means they don't know, they're not searching for you. They don't know quite what they're looking for. But when they see you, they like you. It's a harder thing to win because they haven't set their mind. So a great example of this is like if I go on Amazon and I search red Nikes size 11, enter. You say, what is Jared looking for? He's looking for red Nikes size 11. If I go on there and type basketball shoes, what is Jared looking for? Well, there's a plethora of basketball shoes available. So I have to I'm shopping. Which ones do I like? Ooh, I like those ones. Ooh, these ones won my attention. When you're found under inspirational keywords, this is how most people use search. You're going to see a lot more traffic to what you're doing. It's harder to convert that traffic, but you're going to see more traffic. And ultimately, we want this. Traffic to our products means we have a system that's getting new eyeballs to our products every day. So inspirational keywords are very important, and we want to be found under inspirational keywords. However, if I go onto your shop and can see that everything is inspirational, one of the major things I'm going to do is help you focus on detailed keywords, because those are the highest converting keywords. So for example, if I sell basketball shoes and I have a listing that's all about basketball shoes, and so when someone searches on Amazon, I show up as basketball shoes, great. But what if someone searches for red Nike size 11? I want to show up because I have red Nike size 11 available. So I'm going to want to have that listing show up to them as well. So what I'm doing when I'm looking at someone's statistics or their keywords, a better way to say that, their keywords, I'm looking for, are you an inspirational shop, or are you a detailed shop, or are you balanced? Meaning, so if you're balanced, you would see inspirational keywords lead the way, because keep in mind, you're going to get more traffic that way. And then as you went a little bit further down the list, you would see more detailed keywords. Okay. Another thing that I'm looking for, and I'm always asking the person as I'm doing it, is I say to them, is this keyword what you sell? So for example, if it said travel bag, going back to our tote bag, I would say to that person, is a travel bag what you sell? They might go, well, no, a travel bag's like what you put your toothpaste in and it goes into your suitcase. Mine's kind of like a fun tote bag with states on it. So we have a disconnect. So Etsy's currently pushing you under travel bag. What's going to happen with that is people might see you, they might think you're cute, they might click on it, but they're not looking for a travel bag. They're looking for a, one of those little things they put their toothpaste in. So we're not going to convert that traffic, and you might feel like I'm seeing traffic or my conversion's not as good as I was hoping. Now, another thing that we see is people saying I have less traffic, but my conversion rate's pretty good. What does that mean? It means that Etsy's dialed in the keywords that convert the highest for you, but you're probably lacking in converting inspirational keywords, which means you're doing well gathering the detailed keywords. And so when someone searches for California tote bag and your California tote bag shows up, they buy it. Good. That is a great way to run an Etsy shop. If you want to grow it, you have to be able to fall under those inspirational keywords. So you have to be like, why else would people be buying my state tote bag, or what else can I create that's going to target that same buyer in a more inspirational way, so that when they type in something that they don't necessarily know that they want and they see my product, they then buy my product. So for example, I can't think of anything, but someone's searching something California oriented. They might not search bag, but maybe they're just looking for something paraphernalia connected to California, and then they see your bag and are able to buy it that way. Okay, so once I identify, all right, you are very inspirational heavy, you're very detailed heavy, I'm going to immediately start implementing the strategies in that to say, how do we either focus our SEO to be more inspirational? How do we focus it? How do we duplicate listings and create more detailed oriented listings so that way we can be found more detail oriented? Or how do we convert more the people we're already getting? So I look at their listings at that stage, I go through the pictures, and as I'm going through that, I'm looking to see, if I was a fresh pair of eyes and I had just, and this is an important exercise, and I had just typed in the term travel bag, is this what I would want to see? So then I start to say, well, no, this bag is promoting very much a beach bag. For example, let's just say one of the California tote bag is a beach bag. And I'm thinking to myself, but so much of our traffic is coming in from travel bag. I'm then going to say, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you duplicate this listing, and can you make it so that it's more travel? So show things that, the suitcases, what they can put in their bag, how it's lightweight, and they can, once they get to their destination, they can put their tote bag and put all their stuff that they need and be able to walk with this kind of stuff. And when they're shopping and they don't have to carry the heavy things when they're shopping all day, make it a travel bag. And now let's promote. We're already getting that traffic. Let's just get this one to push to people who are actually looking for a travel bag, and you'll be amazed on how well this strategy works. If you want to go even further in this, you can look at your actual listing like as if you were a consumer on Etsy, and then for you, because you're logged in, when you're looking at your listing, there's a little bar above it, and there's something that says stats, and you can click on stats, and now that's going to tell you the individual traffic that listing is getting. So how much of it's coming from ads, how much of it's coming from organic, how much of it's coming from direct or SEO or social media or whatever. You can see it right there for just that listing. Because keep in mind, for most Etsy shops, you're going to see that a majority of your traffic is being brought in through a handful of listings. From there, you can scroll down and then see the exact keywords that people are searching for. Now, this is where you can extract data, meaning, is this, going back to the exercise we just did, are these top keywords, does my listing actually serve them? And this is where we extract. Are there other ways people are saying it that I can duplicate listings and use that phrase in the front of the listing instead of my current phrase? Meaning you're adapting your SEO, not to that particular listing because you're duplicating listings, but you're adapting your SEO based on how they search for things. And then if it switches, meaning the meaning of the product. So for example, if someone searches California tote bag, and your SEO title says California tote bag, beautiful. But why is it working so well? Because people are searching for California tote bag, and you're leading the listing with California tote bag. That's why it's doing well. But if you scroll down and you saw that a lot of people were searching for travel bag, you might not be getting as many clicks as California tote bag, but that's just because your SEO doesn't match that. So if you duplicated it, created a travel tote bag, then made a listing that spoke to the person who's looking for a travel tote bag, could you get just as much traffic, if not more traffic, to that listing because of that change that you made? So this is where things get dangerous, and this is why I point this out. Your listing is only showing you the traffic that people click on. It's not all your traffic. Your job as an Etsy seller is to figure out where the traffic sources are coming from and create products that are sold to those traffic sources. And if you do that very well, you will do very well on Etsy. So this is what brings up the $1 million question, which is, well, how do I now do that? I know what people are clicking on, but how do I take it to what people are searching? And how do I make those decisions? I'll probably going to teach you that next episode. So as of today, Jared's going to speak to you. What's your homework assignment? This is my homework assignment. I want you to go in there. I want you to look at your click on stats. And when you scroll down, confirm that you're getting about 70% of your traffic is coming from Etsy. And an Etsy app and Etsy Direct is what you're looking at for that kind of traffic, because that rest of it is got some, Etsy ads, you're paying for it. Etsy SEO, you do pay for it as well, because it's usually an offsite ad, and they're searching Google. Social media is obviously you bringing it. Direct is obviously you bringing it. So it's really those two that you're going to be looking at. Once you do that, you're going to go down and look at what are my best sellers. Does it match what my top keywords are? And would those be the keywords that I would want? So if those are the keywords you're like, well, they're slightly off from what and my best sellers or whatever, you're going to start making some changes in that area. Now, I want you to know this. We're not ever touching or messing with our best traffic sources. We're only going to duplicate and rewrite and recreate things to match the data that we see. So if someone's searching for travel bag and we are selling a California tote bag, can we make it more of a travel bag? If the answer is yes, that will help your Etsy shop. I had an example of this. I don't have the end of the story yet. I'm hoping it's going to be a good one. But we had she made this beautiful entryway organizer, and it had places you could put your mail and your wallet and your sunglasses and all this stuff, and you hung it in your entryway. And at the bottom of it, it had key rings, so you can hang your key thing on it. And she was running ads to this. And so, gosh, I feel like I should save this for next week. Let's just do it. She was running ads to it, and it wasn't selling. So she's like, Jared, I'm getting lots of add to carts, I'm getting lots of views, I'm getting a lot of stuff. No one's buying it. So then we went and looked at her keywords, and guess what her keywords were? Key ring organizer, key holder. That's what we were seeing. So again, you say to yourself, well, it is a key holder. It holds 8 keys. And you're like, right. I get it. But let's look at what someone would be thinking if they were searching for a key holder or a key ring organizer. They're looking for probably something small, something probably not at that price range that what she had, and something that's just going to hold keys. So, we're probably overshooting the target. They probably see it and they're like, wow, that thing's really cool, but I wasn't mentally prepared to buy something like this. So she's getting the action without getting the sale. So the feedback we gave was, let's turn off. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself into my next week episode, but this will give you a spoiler alert. Let's turn off some of those keywords that are putting key holder in as the front, and let's focus on entryway organizer and push that word more, because that's what this product is. Now, in a best case scenario, we can also be like, if you can make a key ring holder, let's do it, because we already know the traffic, we already know the phrases that people are searching for it, we already know you're getting the clicks. Let's just make a key ring holder and see if we can get that one going. But in the meantime, let's push entryway holder for this one, or entryway organizer, and see now when someone is searching that, they're much more thinking to themselves, hey, I want something that's going to hold a bunch of stuff. And now when they see that product, they're like, bingo, that's what I'm looking for. So I'll talk more about that in next week's episode on how we can extract and go. But for your homework assignment for this week, get that done, and then we'll meet back next week. Okay, adios.